From ferocious hunters, to daring competitors, to outright nightmares, there is no ecosystem that rivals an alien ocean. But dip your toes into the game Subnautica 2, and you'll find a world more perilous and fantastical than even its predecessor. So join me on a high-stakes deep dive into a brand new biosphere that takes us further into the abyss than ever before. We'll begin just below the surface, where the sunlit shallows are overflowing with abundance. Yet abundance is nature's favorite excuse to get extremely weird with it. You're not seeing double. This Foureye isn't simply one life form, it's a mated pair swimming in perfect tandem. Their harmonious matrimony provides them a better field of vision and a more streamlined shape. But how do they keep themselves from growing apart, as it were? The answer isn't couples therapy, it's a pair of modified ventral fins that serve as powerful suction discs, similar to the heads of Earth sharksuckers. But while sharksuckers latch on to larger hosts to feed off their scraps, Foureyes believe in a more equal partnership, holding fast to each other for mutual survival in a deadly biosphere. For not all life in the shallows is peaceful. To the north, towering anemone structures are hiding packs of monsters. These Nibbler Mangoes might not have the most intimidating name, but their jaw strength more than makes up for it, as do their aggressive hunting tactics. I'm committed to up-close filmmaking, but this Nibbler pack is frankly getting a little too close. While one hunter draws my attention, another tries to sneak behind me. The only way to survive is to continue swimming backwards while keeping the whole posse in view. A narrow escape. Out here, you can't be too careful, because nothing is as it seems. This lump of coral is in fact a colossal coral crab. A Goliath of this size might look intimidating, but coral crabs are in fact remarkably peaceful, serving as the stewards of these lush shallows. Vast herds of coral crab feed by kicking up nutrients, and in the process, they till the seafloor into the bastion it is today. And while their coral-abundant shells might seem rather alien, many earth crustaceans have similarly decorated shells, as such adornments make for rather handy camouflage. Yet the fact that a creature as large as a coral crab needs to stay hidden is distinctly ominous. To the south, the ocean opens up into an eerie expanse dominated by pillars of igneous rock. But one structure in this enigmatic place looks rather different. The question is it a plant or an animal? Definitely an animal. The entire structure appears to be closing with me inside. My keen powers of perception tell me that this is not ideal. It would seem both myself and my camera are being digested. But just as quickly as they close, the enormous jaws open once more, the creature apparently not liking the taste of all my industrial filming equipment. Escaping to a safe distance, I can get a better sense of what nearly swallowed me. This is a great jaw, an omnivorous clam so enormous that from most angles it looks more like mountainous terrain. To hunt, the great jaw waits for a species to inspect its center and then closes its shell before the curious investigator can realize their mistake. A clam moving with such relative speed might seem unlikely, but giant earth clams do move, if only in increments. The great jaw, on the other hand, is an accomplished hunter, one that makes navigating these barrens a risky prospect. But these barrens are also home to an entirely novel sort of life form. Surge jellies are putting on a mysterious, electrifying display. Unlike relatively simple earth jellyfish, surge jellies have highly specialized tissue, their two lower fins in particular containing wire-like electrocytes that can produce enough voltage to stop a human heart, meaning I should probably keep my distance. But it's hard not to be pulled in, for there are signs these high-energy signals aren't just for defense, but for a form of advanced communication. If these surge jellies are indeed speaking to each other, it's impossible to translate, though it's apparent they have quite a lot to talk about. Perhaps they were giving me a warning, for to the east is an extreme region of boiling hot volcanic vents. Yet there is life here, as a very unusual squid flares out its tentacles, creating a hypnotic, strobing effect. It's lovely, yet I can't help but feel I'm being distracted. Ow! A colossal Marrowbreach attacks. This powerful hunter is effective on its own, but it's even deadlier with its favorite accomplice, the hypnotic Houndgar squids, which are happy to distract a target while the Marrowbreach goes in to finish the job with its lethal jaws. Like the fangs of the extinct Dunkleosteus of Earth's late Devonian period, this hunter's teeth are actually self-sharpening bony plates. And as if that wasn't enough, the Marrowbreach is also highly maneuverable. Luckily, so am I. In preparation for entering this perilous region, I fabricated a pair of arm-mounted Wavemaker jets, which are extremely unsafe to operate, but certainly beat getting eaten alive. Time to bravely turn and flee. Deeper into this volcanic graveyard is a donut-shaped organism that appears to be doing, something to a vent. This is a jelly ring, and they know a thing or two about getting the most out of volcanic forces. First, a free-floating jelly ring goes looking for an ideal hydrothermal vent. The mucus-lined flower-like structures that surround the ring act as swimming thrusters that steer them into precise position. Once carefully in place around a vent, the ring's specialized zooids then begin to digest the mineral-rich water. For in a mirror to Earth's siphonophores, jelly rings are not single organisms, but a network of remarkable smaller zooid organisms working in tandem. The heat these slimy donuts can withstand is similarly remarkable, and indeed, a bit too hot for me to handle. Perhaps it's time I stepped out of the oven. Back in the refreshing safety of the temperate shallows, to the north is a related type of titanic jellyfish. These fleshy colossi are so large they dominate entire plateaus, and their size has earned them the nickname BFJs, which stands for, behemoth finger-legged jelly, of course. What else would it stand for? And swimming nearby is another one of the few gentle giants of these seas. This wax moon is a supersized variant of the many smaller half-moon species that populate the lower links of the shallow's food chain. It's nice to briefly meet a friendly, if slightly alarming, face. Soon, night will fall. But while daylight wanes, there's one last alcove of the shallows we need to chart. Hidden subterranean caves run throughout this region that could hold any number of untold wonders. And perhaps untold dangers. Does this lure belong to something horrifying? Of course, I don't know what I was expecting. That was a Sandspear, a toothy monstrosity that isn't the best swimmer, which is why the Sandspear has instead learned to bury themselves and patiently wait for a sucker to come along. If you've ever wished that Earth's horrifying bobbit worms were about 5 times as large, I have just the spot for you to vacation. As for me, I think cave diving is not my thing. Though the sun is dipping lower, out of the water, a truly one-of-a-kind organism is rising. Hyceans are like biological hydrogen blimps, using bacterial symbiotes to convert stored ammonia into a highly effective lifting gas. The descendants of a squid analog, these lightweight organisms are expert floaters, and there's something distinctly soothing about watching them navigate the air currents as the sun sets upon the horizon. Night has come at last, and with it, a whole new world of mysteries. Something is shimmering below the surface. The sea has come alive in an astonishingly neon display of bioluminescence. Nearly every lifeform in this ecosystem has the capacity for luminance, creating an unrivaled tapestry of color. And hidden in these tapestries, the unassuming clown crabs. During the day, clown crabs skitter about, cleaning their periscopic eyes and seemingly not doing much else. But like their larger coral crab cousins, they have an important job cleaning corals of parasites to help them grow. And at night, the fruits of their labor become evident. The entirety of this glowing bionetwork might unravel were it not for the dutiful maintenance of its tiniest residents. Though the shallows have now been well mapped, the deeper, more perilous regions of this world remain entirely unexplored. So with dawn comes a reminder that it's time to strike out into the void, and I've got just the tool for the job. This tadpole submarine may be small, but it's exceptionally seaworthy. Not to mention, I'm tired of paddling my feet. But at the very edge of the shallows, I'm interrupted by this perceptive-looking roadblock. Briefly exiting the submarine, I attempt to make contact. Ow. Well, I suppose that counts as contact. This bone-headed bully is a hammerhead, a brute ready to square up at a moment's notice, flaring out a mantle of pectoral fins before ramming into their targets at full speed. They're so aggressive, they'll even smash into lifeless coral, perhaps to toughen their armor, or perhaps their brains are simply a little concussed. Their real targets are other hammerheads, which they crash against to resolve territorial disputes. All told, this is one to avoid. Now it's time to see what the depths have in store. Far from the safety of the shallows is an ominous graveyard. The colossal, splintered shells of coral crabs, cracked open by an unknown force. Though this scene might appear gruesome, it's possible these remains could serve as the basis of a new reef, as is the case of earth reefs flourishing upon the skeletons of previous generations. But while there's reason to be hopeful for the future, in the present, there's no way this isn't a bad sign. An unfathomably large predator is roaring overhead. I've wandered into the domain of the Collector Leviathan. This Lovecraftian squid is an eldritch nightmare, a creature whose 4 tentacles are always searching for prey. But this isn't just a mindless Goliath of the abyss. The Collector Leviathan is dangerously intelligent, its keen powers of perception heightened by a glowing broadcast organ that senses movement via sonic waves. And as if the situation wasn't dire enough, it's also exceptionally fast, using 3 sets of jets for rapid propulsion, analogous to the siphon on an Earth octopus. Escape is impossible, so instead, I completely abandon my submarine in the hopes the larger target will attract its attention. The Collector seems curious, pushing the sub around before growing bored altogether. Returning to it, the sub looks battered but intact. Yet as I speed further and further away from this nightmare, it dawns on me that I've arrived at an entirely new ecosystem. This underwater plateau is the Observatory Island, a surreal landscape dominated by strange mineral structures. At least, I think they're minerals. But looking more closely, these gateway spires are in fact sessile life forms, straddling the line between organic and inorganic life like no other known species. This is an alien land with alien rules. But in a cave near the edge of the plateau is something a bit more familiar. A Jetocaris crab scrounges for food with its baby. It seems ordinary at a glance, which is how you know it's got something weird up its sleeve. In this case, the Jetocaris is no big fan of walking, instead using valved thrusters on each leg to jet through the water. Achieving liftoff requires considerable practice, which is why baby Jetocarises just get a ride from their parents. It's a bizarre strategy, but this is a bizarre ecosystem. Creeping further along the edge of the plateau, I accidentally startle awake a cone-shaped lifeform. I'm not entirely sure what... Oh, wait a moment. This thing is very fast. Whoa, uh-oh. Okay, the living torpedo currently trying to impale me is a Bullethead, and it's... Will you slow down? Alright, using specialized slow-motion cameras, we can get a closer look. This jet-powered species spends most of its time anchored to cave walls, but if you swim too close, this grumpy dude is off like a rocket, trying to stick you with their pointy, aerodynamic head. It's an understandable... Whoa! It's a mostly understandable fear response, so for now, I'll keep my distance. Finally reaching the middle of the plateau, I'm greeted by what appears to be a sort of building. Here is remarkable proof of advanced life in these seas. as the tower is so large it rises just above the water. But the enigmatic object is in a state of disrepair, so whatever secrets lie inside will have to remain sealed for now. And swimming just outside this abandoned structure is a different sort of relic. This ethereal green Pneuma fish sticks out like a sore thumb. Their bodies are adapted to hide amongst kelp fronds, like the undersea forests of the previous Subnautica, but the kelp of this region disappeared in a recent ecological collapse, leaving the Pneuma stranded without a home. For a dark infection has infiltrated this biosphere. Beneath the plateau, a parasitic bloom takes root like a rotting cavity. This tumorous disease has spread not just to this region, but to all regions of the ocean. And the hive is protected by hostile drones, the infected bloom parasites. Behavior-altering parasites exist on Earth, but this is on another level. Ordinarily, direct intervention would be an ethical breach, yet in this instance, a little spring cleaning is just what the ecosystem needs. The newly printed sonic resonator is thankfully up for the task, though a biosphere this damaged will take time to recover. This plateau has been through considerable hardship, yet hope that life may recover is embodied in the humble yet miraculous Hoverthorns. These passive fish might not look like much, but their spiky, mineralized rear swim bladders create a charge that allows them to create and drift on their own water currents. As long as life is adaptable, life will endure. Although not all adaptations are welcome. On the other side of the plateau, this needler earns its name by firing volley after volley of harpoon-like teeth in my direction. Firing one's own teeth might seem impractical, but these needles are made up of scavenged minerals from the surrounding environment, hardened into spears using enzymes in their dental sacs. An impressive adaptation? Sure, but mainly a huge pain. Fortunately, the very last creature before we leave this plateau for more extreme waters isn't likely to cause trouble. These water slugs are hard at work living the water slug lifestyle, which consists of not a whole lot. Their bodies are full of microbes that feed on seawater waste, which is, well, it's something. Listen, someone has to be at the bottom of the food chain, and these poor slugs are so timid they shiver in fear if one swims too close. Better to let them carry on their business undisturbed. At last pressing beyond the plateau, the seafloor drops to dizzying depths. This entire region exists in the shadow of a massive alien power plant, another mysterious structure long abandoned. And in the pitch black of its shadow, a ghostly form of life is approaching. I'm just going to assume it's dangerous and go in reverse. Oh, there you go. That was a twin Sitaray, a species that doesn't just have a lethal bite, but an astonishing capacity for electric discharge. Like the Foureye, each twin Sitaray is actually a pair working in tandem, their combined electroplaques producing lethal shocks. If this is a taste of the species in this void, this entire filmmaking endeavor might be in trouble. Deeper into these dizzying depths, a much smaller light is swimming into view. This is an electric Geordie, a species that may be able to metabolize electric currents, which is why it's presently draining my sub's battery. A relative of the shallow water Geordies, it's a tiny genus, but still enough to be a major problem. I'm going to have to rethink things. Piloting my sub up the other side of the void to repair it in daylight, I've come across a strange landmass with strange denizens. These are Cerathecans, creatures that navigate in a baffling upright position, with 4 rear jets propelling them forwards. They don't pay me much attention, and evolutionarily, I'm just not sure what to make of them. Much like Earth bivalves, they appear to have hinged shells, and after a lot of following them around, they eventually opened up and let me peek at their slimy insides. To be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure I needed to see that. But fortune favors the bold, so I'm ready to give the abyss a final try. Yet before I can, a new glowing light distracts me. This flash slug is very bright indeed. A far more mobile relative of the water slug, flash slugs use luminescent bacteria to unleash a blinding burst of light. I typically try to avoid small species for their own well-being, but in this slug's case, I'm more worried about my eyesight. We're headed back towards the abyss, and a true deep-sea lifeform has risen to meet us. The voracious Epicurean is a species most at home in the eerie light of the Root Canyon, the single deepest point of this biosphere, and Epicurean aren't the only lifeforms down here. A horrifying colony of parasitic creatures are skittering near the vents. These are tongue thieves, and they have a truly nightmarish survival tactic. They wait for an Epicurean to get hungry, and then they latch on to the poor creature's tongue. Once anchored, the tongue thief uses a numbing agent to block sensations of fullness in the creature's brain, meaning they will constantly be desperate for new food that the tongue thief will leech off of. And that certainly includes a lifeform like myself. In a desperate last attempt, I charge up and fire the sonic resonator, and it appears the tongue thief has been shaken free. The Epicurean is back to normal. All the same, I've had enough of the deep sea. I'm ready to head for home, and the cracks in my hull tell me it's not a moment too soon, but I think I must have taken a wrong turn, because my engine has stalled out, and the water is looking uncannily empty. Well, not completely empty. At the very edge of the world, the deadliest predators of the sea have found me. Shiver Leviathans. These near-mythical phantoms of the void are all but impossible to study, because getting close means certain death. Yet curiously, preliminary scans suggest their closest living relative may be the Foureye, of all things. They also move in a unit of a large female and smaller males, a bit like Earth anglerfish, whose translucent males are nearly 60 times smaller. Even the scariest lifeforms have their own quirks. I had genuinely assumed Shiver Leviathans would be the last species I'd catalog, but by lucky chance, on my way home I witnessed the rarest sight in this ocean. A pod of Deepwing Brooder Leviathans are laying thousands of eggs. These gentle creatures are among the most massive in the ocean, sustaining their bulk and remarkable egg-laying capacity through beaks designed to trap tons of plankton every day. They're so docile that one can swim right up to them without fear of being swallowed. What a fortunate final encounter. My submarine barely makes it home. Admittedly, I really put it through its paces. Yet I suspect there are still many more mysteries out there. So one day, I might just have to patch up the sub and explore the next chapter. This is a remarkable, unpredictable, enigmatic world. And despite all the time it spent trying to eat my face, my filmmaking journey here has been truly special, and I eagerly await whatever next chapter slithers out of the abyss. And speaking of things slithering out of the abyss, have you ever noticed how in fiction, the dark void of space is weirdly full of meat? That might sound weird, but think about it. From body-warping plagues to flesh gods from astral dimensions, the cosmos of cosmic horror is weirdly meaty, right? I started thinking about this while playing through Subnautica, but there are way gnarlier examples, and once I started noticing this pattern, I couldn't stop questioning it. The void of space is like the opposite of warm bodies, so why is the cosmic vacuum so darn fleshy? The answer is insane and needed special attention, which is why that particular rabbit hole is the focus of the latest episode of my new Curious Archive miniseries, Gods and Monsters. This is a show I've been super excited about making. There's already 2 full episodes out, one on deep sea deities, from Lovecraftian gods to abyssal serpents, and the other all about the modern devil, who according to the Bible is not supposed to have horns, red skin, or a pointy fork, but is a totally different guy. And this third episode about cosmic flesh gods is probably the craziest yet, and you can watch all 3 right now only on, you probably know where this is going. It's Nebula. You likely know about Nebula, but just in case, a quick rundown. Nebula is an ad-free platform for early exclusive Curious Archive videos. I've got like 12 others on top of the new Gods and Monsters show, and it's also home to early exclusive videos from your other favorite creators. Tom Scott has made his glorious return and is releasing new videos on Nebula all the time, a week in advance. There's a reason why we all teamed up to make this streaming service. I couldn't have made Gods and Monsters without their mutual support. If you sign up for Nebula, you're directly helping channels like mine continue to exist. And since we're creator-owned, we can also keep the price down. By signing up with the link on screen or in the description, you can get Nebula at 50% off, just $30 for the year or $2.50 a month. Becoming a part of Nebula will help me continue to make Gods and Monsters the extra special show I know it can be. I've still got a ton of exciting episode ideas I'm hoping to make, but your support will also help me continue to make stuff right here on YouTube for everyone to enjoy. If you've ever wanted to help out Curious Archive, there's no better way to do it. Also, if, like me, a monthly or yearly subscription model isn't your thing, you can instead use my link to get an unlimited lifetime of Nebula access for a full $200 off, with a one-time payment of $300 for an account that will literally never expire. And, as I always like to remind people, if you'd like to share these videos, each Nebula subscriber automatically gets free week-long guest passes so that friends and family can watch absolutely anything they want. You can also gift a month, a year, or even a lifetime of Nebula access using Nebula gift cards. There's a lot of options. It takes a while to get through them all, but it all comes back to the same incredible idea of a platform allowing creators like myself to not just stay afloat, but make additional fun shows like Gods and Monsters that we could never create on our own. So I hope you check it out. Again, as always, sign-up links are on screen and in the description. Enjoy the wonders of the meat cosmos. And, as always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this entry, consider lending your support by liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification icon to stay up to date on all things curious. See you in the next video.